people there, Tota Botswana. You know, when I was there in the country, you didn't feel you were in a foreign country, because you know, they spoke the same language, English, Setswana, and you could just go around and meet people, and they would respond, they would understand, and they carry out a conversation. So we were from that, so that aspect, it was easy to assimilate in that country. And they were very welcoming. They involved me in a number of activities. I went and I had some speaking engagements when I was there. You know that I was given an award whilst I was there as well in South Africa. And I was invited to a number of traditional events by certain tribal leaders, kings in that country. So overall, as I said, it was a very welcoming atmosphere. But of course, not being in your country always is at the back of your mind. You know you're not in Botswana. This thing called a cell phone would keep you in touch with people at home all the time. And because I spent most of my time in Johannesburg, lots of Botswana, as you know, cross that border every day. And I had a lot of visitations from people from this side. So keeping me in touch with what was going on. And one was able to follow on social media also what was going on in the country. So it's not like one was totally cut off from what was going on in the country. And then of course, I also spent time in Eswatini, and I was very well looked after by His Majesty the King Mswati and the government while I was there. And so too my brothers who are still there in Eswatini, staying there for the time being. So from that aspect, we were extremely well welcomed in that country, very well looked after, and basically told that, you know, we were welcome to stay there for as long as that situation continued. And so we are very grateful to His Majesty and the government there. And the people were also extremely friendly and welcoming in that country. As to my sister's funeral, yes, indeed, it was extremely unfortunate. I happened to be actually in Monaco when I got the message that my sister had died. And we were then, the first thing you think about is that, I must rush home and go and join her sons to help them do the funeral arrangements. But then we were given an indication that if we were to return, we would be targeted by the regime. And we thought, but where is the compassion? Where is the traditions, our customs, our culture, Botswana? That something as devastating as losing a close family member, you're told that you would not be welcome to come home, and if you did come home, there could be consequences. So we just thought, you know, I took a decision initially, or no, I'm going home anyway. And then on reflection, I thought, you know, if we go home, it's already an occasion which is very sad, very tragic. Then if I was to come home and something was to happen to me, it would be a double blow for the family. So let's not give the family, you know, too much tension and grief and worry. Already we are dealing with our sister's death. Then if I was to come across, and then they would be concerned about what would be happening to me. So just to try and keep the temperature down for them, I decided to stay out. They also decided to stay out because none of us knew what would happen, but we knew something would happen if we came across at that time. And that was made known to us. So that's why we stayed out. So now, having come back, we had decided that as a family, we will find the right occasion when we're all back to come together as a family and plan an event which would symbolize and give the honor and respect to our sister as if we were here, even if it will now be later than the period we would have normally attended the funeral. But we will join with sons, my brothers who are back in the country, and we'll plan an event, a family event, to honor her memory. The same happened with Rekhosi, although it was more recent. That one again was a situation whereby I'm not a family member, but I'm very close, as you all knew, to Rekhosi and his family. And I didn't want my being here to overshadow the occasion. That the family should be allowed to mourn in peace. And when you talked about the reception that I received when I came here, I sort of assumed that maybe if I came across for the funeral and there would be a lot of attention on me having come back, and the regime was likely also to try to do something, that would disturb the family's opportunity to mourn their loss. So let me stay out, and I will have the opportunity to meet with his wife and son, which I have done, and I will continue to do now that I'm back in the country. My charitable work, yes, I will be embarking upon that. That was something which, as you know, this whole problem between me and Masisi started because he felt he didn't want me to overshadow him in terms of public exposure as a former president. I don't know, that was not something I had control of. I was just going to do my charitable work. They tried to sabotage my charitable work. They sent the DIS to threaten business people who were donating to my charity to try to collapse the charitable work. They stopped the Daily News, BTV, Radio Botswana from covering me so that I shouldn't be seen in public. Government schools which had invited me to officiate at their anniversaries or prize giving, they would invite me, and then a couple of days before the event, I would get a call. My private secretary would say, the schools have now cancelled the event. They've been given instructions from the Ministry of Education that because I'm the one who's officiating, the event should be cancelled. So he was suffering from an inferiority complex, Sangai, whereby he thought that, no, this man has had his time, so he shouldn't be seen in public. All that attention should now be showered on me as a president, not knowing that, over time, over the years, when I was in the army, when I was in the police, when I was in government, you obviously become known in your own right, and people will make up their own minds about the kind of person you are. And those who want to welcome you will welcome you, and those who don't want to won't. So you build up your own reputation and support. And that is something that every president would have to do. So this was his problem, because I was told by somebody close to him that the reason why all these things were done to you was he didn't want you to overshadow him. So that was what we were fighting against. So all the things which were done to me, which continue to this very day, even since I got back. They are doing it, and I'll speak to that just now. But I certainly intend to go back full into charitable work, because that was a passion of mine. That as long as we have people who are disadvantaged, we must all, those of us who want to, who have the inclination to do so. Vision 2016 talked about a compassionate and caring nation. That is something which we very much believed in during that time, and I will certainly do that. Talking to the reception I received, it was extremely humbling, very emotional, to go through that, the way I was welcomed, and it's not something I thought it would be, as warm in terms of people's feelings and the number of people who turned out. It was something which will stay with me for a long, long time. And even when I go around, even since that occasion, when I just walk around, when I've been in Gaborone, when I've been in other places, people coming up and welcoming me back to Botswana is something which, as I say, is very heartfelt for me. So I really do appreciate the thing. But it's something that shouldn't have happened in the first place, that I would have had to have left the country. But I was pushed out by Masisi and his regime. And like I said, when we were received, it reminded me that I was born in England and spent the first 3 years of my life there, because my parents were in exile, having been pushed out by the apartheid regime and the British government. And I never thought that when we got independence, which we wanted for ourselves, even though we're one of the poorest countries in the world, we wanted it in order to set our own destiny as a nation, as Botswana, and to do things for the benefit of our own people, and not to be ruled by foreigners. And we've been able to, until recently, build the country up to what it was. And one never ever thought that I would spend another 3 years outside of my country, this time at the behest of a government run by Botswana themselves. And in fact, the conditions that I was under, which I had to leave, were even worse than previously when I first was in exile. And it's just very sad that should happen. But here we are today, and we have an opportunity as a nation to get our country back to what it used to be, and this coming election. And I think as much as they've tried their hardest to try to keep me out of the country, I decided I had to come back and make my contribution. And ever since I got back, I've had the DIS keeping me under surveillance right from day one. When I traveled to Gaborone, they were following us. In and around Gaborone, they were following us. And something you don't know, that the state of surveillance was so intense, even around where they thought I would be staying. Those first 3 days I spent in Gaborone, I didn't stay in my house or my official residence. Well, my official residence, it'll take time before I go in there, because those guys were going in and out of my residence, and I believe they would have planted things in that, listening devices or substances, harmful substances, in that house. So I've got a house of my own, which I stayed in just recently. But the first 3 days, I had to stay outside any of my residents, unknown to them, because, like I said, the threat was so high on me that I felt that, no, that's what I have to do. And I've since found out that soon after I arrived in the country, they started trying to start their process of coming up with new charges against me. So they've been to already a couple of people who used to work with me to go and ask them questions, which they've asked before and they've got answers before. And these people have told me clearly the intention is that before the election, like in 2019 with Butterfly, which they did, they want to bring up some fresh charges against me. And the person who is part of the team who's been going around asking questions, Ke Hubona, the same person who was involved in fabricating the butterfly thing. So Mabani, at the end of this, I spoke to my lawyers and I said, no, this for me is unacceptable, that I've just got back into the country, and as soon as I set foot on the soil, these people are at it again. And this is what caused me to leave the first time, because I was tipped off that they were planning something which was going to harm me. But this time I'm not going anywhere. So I went to the police yesterday. I reported this to the police. Again, something that you don't know, you're hearing for the first time. And I reported them that I'm being followed around by these people. I suspect they're planning to do me harm like before, which is that time in 2021 I was tipped off. And this is harassment. It's an invasion of privacy. When I go around, the one is parked near where I am, others following me, to the extent that because Rabaiti, some of them, we took the registration numbers, and I gave the registration numbers to the police, and I'll be giving them a statement as well to follow up, to say that this thing. So we'll see what will happen, what the police will do about it. Otherwise, we'll go to court again and seek an interdict against them, because these people, the DIS, have been people who have been, as you know, they fabricated that butterfly thing. So they're capable, they've shown they're capable of engaging in illegal activities. We know even from the media the amount of illegal corruption things that Mahosi has been engaged in is out there. We've heard some of their suspended officers file court papers talking about fabrications, threats to kill, and we've even seen court judgments against the DIS. We know what happened to people like Matseka, Lebabangwe. So these people are shrouded and covered themselves in criminality. So when we talk about the DIS being a threat, we are talking about fact. We're not dreaming it up. And I'm glad I'm not the only one who has spoken about the DIS. There are many people who have been victims of their illegal actions. And for as long as these things happen, we need to stand up as a nation and rid ourselves of these people and this regime who have allowed the undermining of the rule of law to play a prominent role in how they run the country.
Okay, now that you are back in the country and you mentioned that you are being followed around, do you feel safe here? And you also mentioned that your brothers are still in Eswatini. When are they expected to be back home?
Do I feel safe? I mean, I've just explained to you what has happened. The things that used to maybe you may remember a few years ago after I left office, when they tried to take away the stuff that I'm entitled to. So recently, one of my house staff members retired, and we've been trying to get a replacement. They haven't replaced that member. Another one was offered a job in the DIS. DIS. They haven't replaced that person either. So I just have that one staff member, but my benefits entitle me to two. When I left office, I'd asked for a third one, because I said when one is away on sick or anything, like one person can manage everything. So I was given the third one. So 2 have gone now and they haven't been replaced. My private secretary, they are saying they are going to take, without consulting me, without sitting down and saying, okay, we think this person has to go, who would you like to replace him? They haven't. They just wait to say, yeah, his time is up, we're going to take him away from you. I'm entitled to dikoloi, government vehicles, as a benefit as a former president. I've been back 2 weeks. They haven't given me 2 of my vehicles. The third one, imo garaging. So right now as we speak, not a single BX vehicle has been made available to me. So recently I asked my private secretary, they know I'm back. Can they bring those vehicles? And up to now, they haven't done that. So it's something, so that they are breaking the law, because I didn't make the law, or a former president should. It was done during the former President Masisi's days that happened. But it's a benefit that I'm entitled to, and they'll deny me of that benefit. So this is the situation that I've arrived and I find myself in, that we're going to be confronting. So am I safe? No, I'm not safe, and many other people are not safe in this country under the situation. And when you see what is going on, people who have been suspended from their jobs, people have been fired, even within the ruling party. People are being suspended, almost so frequently. People are thrown out. Decisions are made which undermine their own internal democratic things. There are so many people you can talk about. Bo Matseka, Bo Balopi, Bo Dikoloti, Bo Wamadinari, Molebatsi, and recently go Tachi West, Mukokomania. It's just a growing number. And so, at the beginning, people used to say, Khama wants to continue to be in power. He's going after Masisi, let him rule. I said, no, it's not me. I may have been the first person to talk about Masisi's misrule. And the reason I was the first person, because Nigebe Rekale, and I'm the first person to realize, he's not the same person I worked with. Now, people realize, and there have been many victims of what he's doing, even within his own party, which is falling apart. And even, I heard, even after Rekabli Atokahal, the structures there in that area had come up with a new candidate, but they were overruled, and then he imposed his own preferred person. So those are the kind of things which are happening. So I say it's not just about me, Bahai. So I want to make that very clear. It's not just about me. It's about the nation of Botswana, and we have to get the country back. What was, the second part of your?
It's about your brothers. When are they expected to be back?
No, I just agreed with them. I just said, don't come yet. I mean, most of our family is out of the country because of the situation here, because they've been targeted. There are more of us, Bana Bahaseretse, the grandparents, the grandchildren Bahaseretse, who are out of the country than those who are in the country, because they've been targeted. So we just said, wait until the elections, because now, and I'm glad I told them that, because what I'm experiencing now since I arrived is exactly why I said to them, don't return now. Let's wait to see what happens on the 30th of October. And then once that things, if hopefully these people are voted out, even though we know they are trying their best to stay in through rigging and cheating, which even Mabani, we heard yesterday during the some of the registrations about how things were being undermined. The process was being undermined right from the beginning of voters registration. how the system was being undermined. You say, where is the transparency? As a democracy, we should be going full out to demonstrate to the world, our own community, first of all our citizens, the region and elsewhere, that Botswana stands head and shoulders above everyone else on the continent in terms of running credible elections. But we are ducking and diving, trying to hide this, trying to hide that. I was fortunate enough to be in South Africa when they held their elections recently, end of May. I will tell you, I was impressed. You know, yes, we know there are issues around certain situations in South Africa, which we all know about, but countries have problems. But I would like to say and put my head on the block to say the way the elections were run in South Africa are among some of the best in the world, not just on the continent. Never mind SADC, way beyond SADC and Africa, but the world generally. Those people, their Independent Electoral Commission, went out of the way to show accountability and transparency. And one of the things I noticed, because I was looking for it, because of what we were doing here in Botswana, during registration, are parties allowed to have agents monitoring the registration process? And they were there. And I used to interact with some of the different parties there to ask them about that. They said, no, if it didn't happen in this country, there would be a lot of noise. We wouldn't allow it to happen. But here in Botswana, the IEC says no, party agents cannot monitor or observe the registration process. And we have a SADC protocol that says that's what should be done. And the IEC says we're not bound by SADC protocols. But we were signatories to that protocol. So how can we sign up to something and then not implement it? And throughout this whole process, we see that there is lack of transparency and accountability. And we need to speak out and not allow it. And I was happy to see on social media that some of our people, Botswana, are standing up when they see or suspect something is going wrong. They go and confront the IEC officials to say, this we're not going to allow, because if they do, you can bet they're going to steal the election. And that's the only way they can win, is through rigging. Because out there, Botswana, le Botswana, la itse, I'm not just saying it because I'm BPF. La itse hore, the majority of Botswana want change. And they know it. And even their own people, I know a lot of people in the BDP, BDP, including those in cabinet, those who are in parliament, we are disgruntled. And so you say, what are you doing about it? There'll be repercussions. They'll tell what's been happening to you when we see what's been happening to these others in the party. That's why we are quiet. But because we are quiet doesn't mean to say we endorse what is happening. We are very much against it. And similarly, when I talk about the DIS, I'm not talking about the whole DIS. There are just a few people in there that Mahosi has put there who are the ones who are going around going after people. Many of the DIS are just good people who would like to see their organization run professionally.